Apart from the transportation funding issue, would either of you comment on the wisdom of the state being in the liquor business?
I'll start. I don't know why I always start answering that question. Yeah, you're right, Bill. If we were having this conversation 50, 60 years ago, I think we would all agree and would probably have gone down a different path. The problem is that it has become so inextricably interwoven into the state's budget that it is difficult to extricate at this point without doing some serious damage to our general fund revenues, or without somehow replacing those revenues in a way that just doesn't make sense, or that is so convoluted and counterproductive that it just doesn't make any sense. So that's the real problem. I think you're right. If we were starting with a clean slate, I would say, why shouldn't we be in the liquor business? But we're not, and we've got to deal with where we are and how we are. And so, and I've said this all along, told the governor's staff and everybody, if he can come up with a plan with some assurance that it's going to hold harmless the general fund, sure, have at it. But I just haven't seen that in a number of legislators on both sides of the aisle. I haven't seen that. So.
Right, and I agree with that, Bill. On the surface, it looks like a fairly straightforward proposal. Let's, turn the ABC over to the private sector, but you get everybody mixing it up, and you have retailers and wholesalers, and it actually is a very complicated endeavor. And I think that's what the governor has realized, and he's not going to give up on it, by the way. And I think, again, as Lynwood said, I'm open-minded. As long as we're not taking money away from, further money away from our schools, healthcare, etc., then I think a lot of people are open-minded to it. But the timing is not good, and I think and I can't predict the future, but I think at the end of the day, it will probably kind of smolder for a year. People, again, the retailers, the wholesalers, the big business versus small business, everybody will continue to work on it and come up with a plan that everybody's agreeable to. So it's not something that's going to go away, but whether it will happen this year, I think, is another question.
Just quick, how many other states are in the liquor business? Number of them?
A number, yes.
Virginia not alone.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry, your question.
How many other states are like Virginia that have the ABC type thing?
Right, there are some, but I would say that the majority are probably privatized.
The vast majority.
And again, it's a good thing. I think what they're doing is looking at how it's working in other states so they don't have to so much reinvent the wheel. There's a lot going on.
In some states that have more recently gone down that path, they've had questionable and somewhat disappointing results, which is another big question mark for those of us who have some qualms with